Give me about 3 months.
Oh, shut up. Sit down. Oh.
You're probably all wondering why I've been called here tonight. Well, life has a funny way of tapping some people on the shoulder and then punching them with a left hook when they turn around. That's what happened that's what happened to wealthy investment speculator Simoleans Van Rich. Only Van Rich never got back up again when the punch connected.
That's a fact.
Let me introduce myself. For those of you I haven't interrogated yet, I'm Slats Flannagan, Private Dick. I was hired by the deceased wife, Louella Van Rich, to crack this case wide open like a crate of walnuts run over by a Mack truck. Everyone in this room was present last week when the prestigious Man Award was given to Van Rich here at the Got It All Country Club. Not long afterwards, he was found murdered in the cocktail lounge. Seems as though someone in this room had a vendetta, like Pelosi has for Trump. Being Got It All Club members, you're all familiar with one another. Except for this gentleman. That's right, you, in the fancy shirt there. You mind coming up?
Oh, who's that? Safe, very safe.
This is your partner? He's so slow.
You are correct there. This here is my assistant Dick, Spuds O'Brien. Now, Spuds is new to the PI racket, so be patient with them. Here's Spuds. You forgot your hat and notepad at the office.
There it is.
Don't worry, you'll get the hang of it.
Here, got it ready.
Yep, go back and sit down. Take notes on anything that looks suspicious. And by the looks of this crowd, we've got plenty of material. Is Mrs. Van Rich present?
Here I am, Mr. Flannagan.
Anyone ever tell you that you've got a walk that could melt the polar ice caps?
Do you always make passes at grieving widows?
No, you just look great in black, baby.
I'm a respectable woman, Mr. Flannagan. I need to mourn for at least a month. That is, of course, unless the Yarder's Ball is held earlier this year, then 2 weeks should be sufficient.
I get a feeling that you and the late Mr. Van Rich weren't that close.
Oh, we had our moments in between his business meetings and an occasional floozy here and there. But he always made it up to me in the end with a diamond bracelet or a trip to Rio when he knew he should have been taking his wedding vows a little more seriously than he had been.
Give me your version about the murder last Friday night.
My husband and I arrived, along with Mr. Rittenhouse and his wife, at the club at 7 o'clock. We went directly into the Rose Room cocktail lounge. We were only in there a few moments when it was announced that the award ceremony was to begin, so my husband told me to go on in without him. There was someone he needed to speak with. He said he would join me shortly.
What? Was he going to take a few inches off his height?
No!
Did he wear lips?
Not shorter, shortly. Anyway, I was only here in the Moneybags ballroom for a few moments when I decided to visit the ladies' powder room. I was there a brief while when I heard a terrible commotion outside. There were people running everywhere and screaming. It took me some time to realize that my husband had been murdered in the Rose Room cocktail lounge. Someone had drowned him by holding his head under the floating fruit slices in the punch bowl. Oh, it was horrible. His face was as bloated and red as a maraschino cherry.
Don't worry, Mrs. Van Rich. Even though this case seems as difficult as asking the mayor of New York to take his foot out of his mouth, I'll handle it.
I have seen some tough eggs in my day, Mr. Flannagan, but you're 20 minutes. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must rejoin some of my husband's business associates. Don't go anywhere without me. Ta-ta. Ciao. Arrivederci. Sayonara.
As long as it takes. Aren't you Al Fresco, the racketeer? I see you're out of the slammer and enjoying the open air. How have you breezed into an exclusive joint like this?
My street pilot does not for stats. Now, how long we staying? I got businesses that are before work. I'm going to play double on every second. Now, come on, hurry up. Ain't got that much time.
Then maybe the state will give you some. We've got a murder to solve, and you're a suspect along with everyone else. Now sit back and relax. I'd like to talk to the club's manager, Mr. Jeffrey Arbogash.
Right there, Mr. Flannagan.
I understand that you're the guy who handles this joint?
If you mean, do I oversee all the activities and events and ensure their smooth operations, then yes, I handle the joint.
Were you working on the night Mr. Van Rich was murdered?
Our prestigious man award is the highlighted ceremony every year. I'm always on hand at these occasions to make sure nothing goes wrong.
Unfortunately, something went very wrong last Friday. Can you remember anything unusual that particular night?
Not really. The guests were all comfortably chatting with one another in the Rose Room, having aperitifs, when I announced the award ceremony was about to begin in the Moneybags Ballroom. It was here that the award would be presented.
At what time were they asked to leave the Rose Room?
At 7:15.
Did you notice anyone strange hanging around the Rose Room? That's where the punch bowl was, right?
Yes. By strange, what do you mean?
Was there anyone you didn't recognize?
I know all the club members. There was no one there I didn't recognize.
Look around this room. Anyone here who seems to have been doing anything suspicious?
Well, as a matter of fact, there was one person I noticed with Van Rich just before he entered the Moneybags room from the Rose Room.
Well, spill it, Arby.
The gentleman over here with the cane.
Yeah. What's your name, pal?
Robert.
Say that one more time for me.
Robert.
Robert. Robert what?
Rose.
Okay, Robert Rose. What do you do for a living?
I'd rather not say.
Yeah. Well, then why don't I enlighten the entire room what you do, Robert Rose? Or should I say, Rainbow Benny? Yeah, you're a fence for club members who need to hawk their personal items for quick cash. I see you got your purse back from him, sister. Yeah, great little organization you got here, Arby. Lots of fine people belong to it. And what were you doing with Van Rich just before you went into the Rose Room? Well, you'll talk plenty later, or my assistant Spuds will work you over. He gets mean when people don't tell him what he wants to know. Right, Spuds?
Taking notes. Taking notes.
Good job.
Do it again.
All right. Anybody else who works here see Van Rich that day?
He had a golf lesson with our club instructor, Maisie Malloy, that afternoon.
She around?
Yes.
Get her for me, will you?
Certainly. She's in the hallway.
Just making sure he's going where he should be. You getting all this down, Spuds?
The guy left the room, right?
That's right. And he did walk through that door and thus left the room.
I might need another book.
Good job, Spuds. I knew I could count on you. Don't overlook anything. There's a lot of people in this room, and I know that something could slide under the radar. But we're... does anybody know who this is?
That's the cleaning lady.
Does she know that we're investigating a murder here? Who are you? I said, who are you? Oh, look, lady. Who are you?
No, Greek Orthodox.
What? No, lady, who are you?
What?
Who are you? What do you do?
I'm sorry, I told you I am not a Jew. I am Greek Orthodox. My whole family is Greek Orthodox, except my cousin Vladimir is a little funny, like you do when reading spectacles.
No, you don't get it. We ain't spitting on the same fire here. I said, who are you? What do you do?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you asked if I'm a Jew. No, I am Katrina Zenovich. I am the cleaning lady for the club. I'm a little bit of hard of hearing. You speak more noisy, please.
Were you working last Friday night?
No, I'm from Belgrade.
I don't know what you thought I just said, but what I want to know is night! Night! Were you working last Friday night?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Excuse. I think you asked if I am a Moscow, right? I said no. Yes, I'm working last Saturday night. I work all nights except, no, not last Friday night. I work last Friday night. I work every night except Monday, day off.
Did you see anything suspicious?
Oh, yes, the food is very good here.
Not delicious, suspicious. Did you see anything suspicious?
No. I am from Belgrade, Yugoslavia. We never see anything suspicious. Excuse me, I will clean the kitchen. Cleaning, everybody clean. Take the child, everything, everywhere we go.
She was acting pretty screwy.
Did you want to see me, Mr. Flannagan? I'm Maisie Malloy.
Well, hello, Angel. Don't tell me you're the golf instructor.
I am.
How'd you like to help me with my strokes sometime, doll?
That depends on how many balls you have.
I've got enough for a hole-in-one.
I think you're trying to drive it down the fairway using just a little old putter.
Why don't you, unzip my bag and find out? I've got a great set of irons.
Maybe, but you gotta know to use the right one on the right hole.
My score is up to par, and I know how to stay in the green.
I have a feeling you're working with a little more of a handicap than you think you are. Now, what was it you wanted to see me about?
I understand that Mr. Van Rich had a golf lesson with you that afternoon before his death. Is there anything you can remember he said that might be a tip as to who gave him a one-way ticket to the boneyard?
Well, you know, I've been thinking a lot about what we did that afternoon. Mr. Van Rich was a very nice man. I hated to see him go that way. He did mention to me that his neighbor, Robert P. Rittenhouse,
was going to be giving him and his wife a ride to the award ceremony that night in Mr. Rittenhouse's limousine. He laughed about how ironic it was.
Why was it ironic?
Well,
Don't feed it to me in eyedroppers, Angel. Give.
Even though they were neighbors and club members, the two gentlemen were opponents in business and I guess you could say everything else. Whatever one had to have, the other had to have, only bigger and better. One time, Mr. Rittenhouse bought himself his own private plane. The very next day, Mr. Van Rich bought himself a whole commercial airline company. The two were friendly rivals, you might say.
There's no such thing as a friendly rival. It's an oxymoron.
Sir, I resent that bodacious remark.
No. That means the two don't go together.
Well, of course they don't. They're both men, silly.
Would you say this competitive edge could extend as far as murder?
I take umbrage with that insinuation, Mr. Flannagan.
I take it you're Rittenhouse?
I am. I considerably weigh anything this young lady has to say. Golf isn't the only sport she plays.
Why, you...
I take in any and all information, no matter who it comes from. Even a corporate raider who carried a suitcase stashed with cash for Ivan Blotsky.
Oh, my sentence was suspended.
You can disappear for the time being, Angel.
If you need me again, just whistle.
Yeah, your sentence was suspended. Singing like a bird to the law about your corporate cronies. Where were you when Van Rich was murdered?
I was in the men's room. It was 7:30.
You always know what time it is when you go to the bathroom?
My watch alarm went off. That's why I remember the time.
Why'd it go off at that particular time?
Well, at that time, that's a funny story. This doesn't really matter, but...
Come on! Out with it! Or I'll have my man Spuds beat you to a pulp! He can be a tiger when he's let loose.
I will not be cross-examined without my lawyer present.
It's either here or in court through a subpoena.
Oh, very well, very well. Yeah, but only because we're among friends here. See, every Saturday night at 7:30 on the Comedy Cable Channel is the Three Stooges Festival. So, I always set my watch to remember to watch it. That night, I just didn't turn it off, that's all.
What a bunch of malarkey.
Mr. Flannagan, I'm a very, very high-powered business professional. I need to unwind occasionally from work stress. Some of my associates frequent the Greek Isles, others just rely on sports. But me, I'm a simple man. A pie in the face, a poke in the eyes is enough for me to relieve my pent-up pressures, especially when I substitute in my mind's eye faces of people I don't like for those three idiots.
So far, you've told me a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah, well, maybe there's nothing to know.
Maybe, but stick around anyway. We've got more to say to each other.
No, we don't.
Oh, I think we do. And I'm looking forward to it. Hey, if it ain't Lolly Liver Lips, you still running that motel in East Texas? Great little place. Beautiful women. What are you doing in Shawnee? Oh, yeah, I remember. You did that short stretch in Monroe County before going straight. Keep your eye on your wallet. Okay, Spuds, let's see what kind of notes you've been taking.
Rittenhouse has $80.
All right, let's see. Beautiful legs, 36, 24, 35. Person sitting next to me has bad breath and has a phone number 864-4189. Then there's one person that's sitting 2 tables down who has no tasting clothes. What is this? A fashion show or an investigation?
Well, we can take notes.
Yeah, take better notes if you want to stay in the business, pal.
Well, let's see what else you got. Oh, hey, here's something. First course is going to start soon. Well, is it?
Yes.
Good thing you're here. Maybe there's no for you after all. Absolutely.
During the break, I've been nosing around, asking some of you questions. Seems that most of the club members are squeaky clean with solid alibis, but there are a few suspects that need closer examination. Spuds, I want to go over some of the details with you. You got it. Take your time. But don't take all our time. Now, let's review the day's events.
It's Sunday.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And the murder took place 9 days ago. So let's
That
talk.
would make that Friday.
Friday the 13th?
To be exact.
Yes.
Yeah, I got that.
All right. Now, Van Rich came to the club around 1 o'clock for a golf lesson with Malloy. After the lesson was over, the two of them could not be found for 2 hours, although Mr. Van Rich's car was still stationed in its usual parking space. The club's message.
Yeah, by the car house over there. I got you. I checked it out earlier and it wasn't there. Okay.
Yeah, the club's messenger boy remembers this, since he paged Mr. Van Rich and he wasn't able to locate him.
I got you.
It was around 5 o'clock when the victim was seen at the River Rooms bar. A few of the members remember warning him that he wasn't giving himself much of a lead time to get ready for the awards that night.
Right.
It was around 6:45 when Rittenhouse and his wife pulled up at the Van Rich's estates. And a few minutes later, Van Rich and his wife approached the car. It was noted that they were in a heated argument when they approached the car and were not on speaking terms when they got in.
Yeah.
When they got to the cocktail lounge, all of the guests slipped Van Rich congratulatory handshakes. And when it was time to go into the ballroom, Van Rich lagged behind the rest of the guests, maybe to be with his wife since she wasn't with the other people. And it was a short time after all the guests were seated and waiting for the awards to begin that Van Rich was murdered. That would be somewhere between 7:15 and 7:35.
In the 720 range, I got it.
Yes, that's the lowdown. So the rest of the info we got to get from the witnesses. So you got any idea as to who's the guilty party?
I get that Rittenhouse there is a beady-eyed schmuck.
You believe this guy?
What? Hold on, let me see that for a second. Okay, I have a question for you. Who were you playing tic-tac-toe with?
Is that in there? Yeah. Okay.
All right, so you think Rittenhouse is suspect?
And that gal in pink that you were whistling a hoop at before.
Oh,
That's you, Slats. That's you.
Yeah, I guess everybody did see that, didn't
Yeah,
they?
we saw that, so,
Very observant as always, Spuds.
you got it.
All right.
So, that's about pretty much what I got to go on.
Well,
Yeah, I get my main course. I usually think better with a full stomach.
I understand, Spuds. After all, we are still early in the investigation.
You got it.
So here's your next part of
You
the training.
got it.
We are going to be interrogating the witnesses. And here are the questions that you are going to be asking. We're going to question that cleaning lady, Katrina Zenovich. We're going to ask her what she saw that night. Katrina Zenovich. Katrina Zenovich. Yeah, let's see how you handle yourself.
You want to see Katrina?
Oh, stop. Get over here. Come on, come on. Come on. You're good, like. That's on your
Yeah, he wants to ask you some questions.
In your own words.
Swierczek. Yes, the traffic is very bad.
Wait, what? Wait, what do you mean traffic is bad?
You ask me if there is much congestion. I say yes, the traffic very busy.
No, not congestions. Questions. Some questions. He'll ask you some questions.
Oh, yes, yes, I understand. Yes.
Your own words. Your own words. Tell us what happened last Friday night.
What?
Around 7:20.
What?
Now, hide me, lady. Don't get me damned up.
What did he say?
Yeah, hide me.
Oh my gosh, night.
In your own word. Give me your good ear. Where's your good ear? Closer. Isn't it there?
Don't let her wiggle out.
Call me.
Okay, hold on. Night. What happened last Friday night?
I already tell you, Mr. Slats, I am not a Muscovite, I'm from Belgrade, Yugoslavia.
Did you get that, Slut?
Oh, I got that.
And number 2.
You need to know what happened last Friday night? The
Yes,
party?
Friday
Oh,
night.
at the party.
Said it a million times.
They all
7:20.
come. I tell you.
7:20.
You be quiet.
You have a watch?
No, shush. Listen. So, I come here for the party. Big party, fancy people, beautiful clothing, and they all go into that rose room. They have the punch, you know. And then they come into the Moneybags ballroom. And so they come in, and there's nobody inside, so I go clean. I'm cleaning in there. And then I see one man. He is leaning over the table. The buffet is not moving. And I think, oh, maybe he too much drink, you know? So I just ignore it. I keep on cleaning. And then I think, maybe he lose a ring or something in the punch bowl. He look for it. So I say, I have. He no answer. So I say again. And this time I tap on his shoulder like this. I go, tee, 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 tee. He's not moving. And then his face, he looked like, I see the big man running through
Big
the
Buffy,
lobby.
right?
And I scream, I run and fight the people. It's very bad, very bad.
Ask her the next question.
Very bad.
Did you see anyone else in the room?
No, I
Did you
use
see anyone?
a vacuum cleaner.
Come on.
I use a vacuum cleaner.
It's just you and a man in a punch bowl. Anyone else?
Oh man, this game ought to work for Blue Ridge Communications.
What did he say?
He said, was anyone else in the room?
Oh, no one in the room but me. Me and the book.
Oh,
And then I see the man running through the lobby. Oh, but wait. I find this next to the man on the table.
All right, let's see. Ammonia GZ with calcium propionate and a sprig of parsley. Knockout drops. Van Rich must have been drugged before he was murdered. That narrows things down a bit. It had to have been someone in close contact who slipped this into his drink. This is important. Dismiss your witness, Spuds.
hey, go back to your vacuum cleaner over there.
All right. What?
Thank you very much.
You can go.
You too. Thanks for your help, man.
Oh. Okay.
All right.
Anything else?
No, you can go now. That'll be all.
Okay, you can call, but not on Thursday, day off.
Yeah, you did a good job, Spuds. Wait a minute. Thursday? I thought it was Monday before.
Folks, you want to hang around here to watch you play the end of your junior ranger and your senior ranger?
Sit down, Spuds. I'll handle this.
You need me? I'm here.
You can count on you. You seem to be real anxious to leave, Fresco. Okay, if you're in such a rush, why don't you give me your version of what happened last Friday?
Love to tell. He croaked, just like the paper said.
You know something you're not telling me.
Boss, Slatsy. You know I ain't the kind of kiss and tell.
Well, you better start playing square if you don't want me making up fairy tales of what you might have been doing that night.
Hey, don't get constipated. I'll tell you whatever you want to know. I'm an okay guy. I ain't got nothing to hide. I was having a drink with a couple of my buddies, and I noticed the guest of honor walk in with his wife, but I didn't pay too much mind because I have a little conversation business of my own to attend to. So pretty soon Arbogash comes in and announces that everybody's to blow into the next room. As I pass Van Rich on my way out, I slip in my mitt for congrats on your order. That's it. Next thing I was just waiting there. I hear people start screaming murder. People's all running out of the room. But I didn't go nowhere. I just stayed there until things blew over.
You seem very blasé about the episode.
Yeah, I grew up in Philly. You seen one murder, you seen them all.
Then what happened?
Let's see, Arbogash comes back in and he tells the crowd there's been an accident and y'all gotta leave. And Van Rich didn't get his word that night. That's it. I didn't even know what happened until one of my boys, associates, told me about it the next day.
Very honorable about you congratulating him, especially since you hated his guts.
You're talking cockeyed.
My sources told me that you and Van Rich had a deal to bring in gambling to the club. And that since gambling is illegal in this county, and Van Rich had government officials breathing down his neck about junk bond dealings, he got cold feet and pulled out.
You've been watching too many late-night detective movies, Flannagan. You got proof to back up these accusations?
I got a finger on the pulse on what goes on around here.
Yeah, I got a finger for you too, Dick. But it ain't the kind I can show with ladies present. Now, you're gonna try to lay this murder rap on me, you better come up with more lip service for the DA.
When the time comes, I'll have plenty. In the meanwhile, cool your heels and take it easy. Just be sure not to go anywhere for the present.
Oh, I'll stay. But only long enough to watch you make a monkey out of yourself and your theories, which by my watch, shouldn't take long.
Is Mr. Arbogash around?
Present.
I'd like to talk to you again if you don't mind. Is Mr. Arbogash around?
Present.
I'd like to talk to you again if you don't mind.
Certainly, Mr. Flannagan.
Now, to the best of your recollection, tell me everything you can remember before and after Van Rich was murdered.
I was in the kitchen sampling the vichyssoise when I heard an awful ruckus coming from the hallway. The river room has a door leading to the hall, as do the rose room and the money bags room. I ran into the hall to see what the commotion was all about when I saw Mrs. Zenovich running about to the hall screaming like the devil was after her.
What happened next?
There was much confusion with people running about and screaming. She pointed to the rose room and ran away, so I immediately went there.
Did you see Mrs. Van Rich?
I don't believe so, but the episode is not entirely clear.
Go ahead.
When I entered the cocktail lounge, I saw Mr. Van Rich with his head in the punch bowl.
Come here, Spuds. I need some help reconstructing the crime.
Yeah, what do you got for me there, Slats?
Hold this bowl.
Get the bowl.
Now.
Hold this 1 second here, Slats. I got this.
I guess.
Huh?
Thank you. Now, how was Van Rich's head in the bowl?
His face was submerged in the bowl, profile.
Like this?
No, his head was turned more on its side, I remember, because I could see a strawberry sticking out of his mouth.
Jeez, how's this deal?
Yes, that's it.
You got this, Slats?
So, his head was in the bowl, and he was bent over in this sort of position?
Yes, that's how he was when we found him.
Now, how would you account for the fact that, okay, Spuds, I can take the bowl now.
Got it.
Now, how would you account for the fact he was still standing in an upright position with his head in the bowl, and that he'd not fallen over?
The only way I could explain it is that we must have entered the room only moments after the murder had taken place.
Uh-huh. Let me ask you another question. Isn't it true that prior to the murder, Van Rich had humiliated you in front of club members by complaining about how he mismanaged important business luncheons for him?
I don't see what relevance that has.
Au contraire, it has a lot to do with the case. Didn't think I knew how to speak French, did you?
I didn't think you knew how to speak English.
My sources told me that I overheard you talking to that French waitress. Yeah, that French waitress, about how you weren't sorry that Van Rich wasn't around anymore and that he got what he deserved.
The man was wealthy, but he was also boorish and sanctimonious. There were more than a few people who were not sorry to see him dead. I don't know what plan you're hatching in that sleuthing mind of yours, but if you're thinking that I killed him, you're wrong. I would never kill anyone. Especially by holding their head in a bowl full of fruit punch. Too messy. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm needed in the river room.
That's okay, Slippery. We'll talk more later.
Excuse me?
Slippery Sam. That's the moniker you used when you ran that massage parlor racket in Atlantic City. Until you got busted a few times. You decided to go straight, change your name, and got a new line of work.
People have the option of changing their lives for the better, Mr. Flannagan. Even you.
Well, folks, looks like I need to do a little more digging. We'll meet you back here after the next course. Now, just where do you think you're going, Bob?
I had enough of this farcical charade. I'm leaving.
Listen, Mo, you may be a high-powered business executive, but you're in my ball game now, and what I pitch, you catch. Savvy?
I got nothing more to say to you. Get out of my way.
Go ahead. But it's going to look real bad in the press, you slipping out before the investigation's over.
I got nothing to hide, pal.
Prove it.
I have nothing more to tell you.
What about the Garden of Petty Cash?
What about
it? Seems that you and Van Rich left the Rose Room at around 7:05 for a breath of fresh air just before the awards. One of the waiters that was straightening out the veranda overheard you two arguing. What was that about?
That's none of your business.
I could make it my business.
I could have the job for this.
You wouldn't like it. The pay's too low. Let's stop playing poker, Rip. There's been a murder. And this little piece of information jockeys you into first place as a prime suspect.
Just because we argued, everybody argues.
Yeah, but not everybody turns up murdered after an argument.
I have an alibi. Hello. My wife was with me every moment the murder was supposed to be committed.
Where's your wife?
She's the little one over there who's been ironing up Spuds. Come here. you alone for a few minutes and you're ending up the senior detective.
Okay, babe. Were you with this man last Friday night? All night? Remember, if you lie, that makes you an accessory.
All night? Is that supposed to be a joke? So,
What are you doing to me?
if only. The one place that he spends more time than he does with me is the bathroom. Looking at himself in the mirror, I'd say he should have married him instead of me.
Wow. Thanks a lot.
No problem.
You can forget about that Porsche I promised you for your birthday. Go sit down.
I still get your money when you die, just so you know.
Oh. Yeah, that's a nice alibi you got there. Now come clean with me, Rick. What were you and the deceased arguing about? Don't lie, or I'll have my partner, Spuds, bounce you around like a rubber ball.
Alright, we were arguing about the award. Van Rich only won the award because he stole the client that I had for months. He stole my client out from under me.
You guys sound like Girl Scouts selling the most cookies. How'd you get the client?
By giving her a free calendar.
A calendar?
Yes, a calendar. And, you know, a no-expense paid vacation. One of the places pictured in one of the 12 months. Okay?
Very generous.
That baby was mine in the bag until that sneak, Van Rich, wined and dined her out from under my nose. I could have killed him. Oh, figuratively, of course. Oh, I really need a drink.
Yeah. Well, don't go too far away. And if you see Maisie Malloy, tell her I'm looking for her. What's your name, doll? What's your name? Yeah, you.
Dolly.
Oh, wow, Dolly. Hello. Hello, Dolly.
Never heard that before.
Yeah, I bet you have. So what do you do?
What do I do? I'm a waitress.
Ah. Well, I bet you can serve me up an answer right now. Have you ever seen one of these before?
Yeah, I own one.
Oh, really?
Just like that.
So, do you own this one in particular?
Not that.
Oh, well, the funny thing is I checked the registration number and your name's on it.
Dolly, huh?
Got your fingerprints on it too, I bet. Now, where do you suppose it came from? The Got It All parking lot. Seems that there were bullets found in the tires of Van Rich's car that matched this gun. Next time you throw away a gun, sugar, throw it into the river, not in a fountain.
My bad.
You want to say me?
I'll get back to you later. Yeah, Angel? I want you to tell me more about your relationship with the deceased. And I want the real story, not the story for publication. I understand that you two were tight in the sack.
Mr. Van Rich was a wonderful man.
Seems you're in a minority of one.
Well, he was more than just another student to me.
I'll lay odds on that.
He was very powerful and influential. I admired him very much.
I won't ask where you two were for 2 hours last Friday afternoon, because I have a pretty good idea. But Friday night's a question mark in my mind. You were supposed to be at the ceremony.
I was in the indoor swimming pool, practicing my breaststrokes.
And doing a good job, I might add.
Before the awards were to begin. So you see, Mr. Flannagan, I wasn't even around when the murder happened.
You got a witness?
Yes. The pool custodian, Al, was on duty.
And just so happens to be on vacation in Europe right now.
Ain't that a shame?
Yeah, for you. No alibi.
No motive. We were friends, remember?
You're hiding something, Cupcake. I can smell it as strong as a zoo on a humid day.
Mr. Flannagan, there's something very important I must speak with you about. Oh, hello, Maisie. How are the golf lessons going?
Still swinging.
Yes, I bet they are. I need to speak with you alone, please, if she's through putting around.
Feel free to play through.
So, what's the lowdown?
Please.
What's the angle?
They were in a gift-wrapped box, apparently for my husband. A maid found them on the veranda. There was a note attached.
Here are some balls to replace the ones you lost. This is an incriminating piece of evidence. You say your maid found them? When?
That night, I'd forgotten all about them until she reminded me earlier today. They were obviously intended for my husband, so I thought I'd give them to you as a piece of evidence.
Why didn't you remember?
Oh, Slats, I've had so much on my mind these days with the funeral and the will reading in my hair and my nails. My schedule's just so crammed full of activities.
Come on. I got a couple of suspects to line up.
Really?
Eat up, folks.
Don't stop talking.
The night Van Rich died touches everyone here. There wasn't one person unaffected by his grip in the financial world and in the world of politics. When Van Rich walked into a room, all eyes were on him in awe and in terror, like a fox in a chicken coop. He could wear a mantle of generosity, giving away millions to charitable causes. Or he could be a ruthless megalomaniac, making people dance like demented yo-yos. Fresco!
Why don't you guys leave me alone? I beat my rap. All of them. Any witnesses that the state brought up against me, all but drew their testimony. I got the canceled checks to prove it.
I only wanted to let you know you've got a food stain on your tie. Nervous because of a guilty conscience?
I got no conscience.
Well, in that case, you won't mind a few questions.
Yeah, I don't mind. Just don't give me a fast shuffle.
Well, here's a card right off the top of the deck. I'm wondering if these little messengers might have been a package from you. A reminder to Van Rich that he didn't have the guts to go through on your deal. That you were fed up with all the stalls and the pullouts, and that he double-crossed you just one too many times. You don't like when people change their minds after an arrangement's been made. That's what happened to the environmental rights official who ended up 6 feet underneath one of your toxic waste dump sites.
Hey, I got permission to use that man. All right, I leased a lot from the town's mayor.
And paid him a lot more money than it was really worth. What about the payola to the sheriff?
What payoff? He was helping with direct traffic, you know, so my trucks got on the right lot.
You've got an angle for everything.
That's what keeps you healthy, Pally. Look, Flannagan, why did you try to pin this on me? I wasn't even in the same room with the guy when he got stuffed out.
It's only when someone is in the same room as you that they're safe. Otherwise, your associates might pay them a visit. A very short visit. What were you doing at the time of the murder, Mr. Rittenhouse?
I already told you that.
Oh yeah, drying your hands on the men's room towels. Very convenient. You want to say anything about this gift to Van Rich?
I didn't have time to play idiotic games, sneaking around the veranda, leaving cryptic messages for my neighbors. Please.
How do you know these were put on the veranda? It's never been mentioned during the course of my interrogation.
Whoa. Mrs. Van Rich made a point of mentioning it to me, okay?
What do you mean, a point?
I thought perhaps there was some sort of a joke between my husband and Robert.
Maybe they were more than a joke. Maybe you thought Van Rich didn't have the moxie to get his clients on the up and up. That he used any means necessary, even giving away free vacations to build his clientele. That he inherited his business from his mother, and that he never learned to play fair. He played to win, and he did win, all the time, big, which made you mad enough to want to dunk his profile like a donut until he was out for the count. Or maybe you couldn't take that chance, but you hired a professional, and then set your watch alarm to make sure that you were in the John as an alibi. The police investigation peeked into your bank records and discovered 2 check withdrawals. One for $10,000 just before the murder, and one for $10,000 just after. Who were those checks for?
They were business transactions.
To Miss Malloy's boyfriend.
Gargantua, what does he have to do with this?
Oh, he has about a 220 pounds worth of solid muscles saying the matter. I called your alibi. Al, the custodian, in Romania where he's vacationing. And your story checks except for one minor detail. You said you weren't always alone at the pool. That your boyfriend, the club's weightlifting instructor, was in the room and you two had a blow. Al was cleaning the pools when he heard him tell you not to go to the party later on. And you told him it would be good for your career if you went. Now what do you suppose you meant by that?
Mr. Van Rich was helping me pursue my life's dream. To be a country western singer. I got tired of swinging clubs and I wanted to be in swinging clubs yodeling my songs. Mr. Van Rich helped pay for my nasal twang lessons. And he promised to introduce me to people at the prestigious Man Awards that could help me pursue my new career. So I had to go. My boyfriend got jealous and told me to break off my relationship with Mr. Van Rich.
Al later saw your boyfriend steaming like a super chief train across the yard towards the club. Gargantua couldn't have waited outside until all the guests left except Van Rich. Seeing his chance, he placed his skull under the punch like a 4-year-old bombing for apples.
That's not true!
But you're not really sure of that. Maybe your boyfriend sent these balls as a warning to stay away. Only Van Rich was too stupid to play smart. Or perhaps these were a little present from Arbogash.
Now really,
Van Rich knew about your past life and enjoyed holding it over you. He was never one to miss an opportunity to humiliate someone. It was a friendly little game he liked to play to keep in shape for the barracudas in the business world. He was the cat, and you were the mouse. Only this little mouse watched Tom and Jerry cartoons and planned revenge.
why, you are imaginative, Mr. Flannagan. Exactly how was I supposed to take care of all the evening's arrangements, plus commit a little murder on the side?
Not you, but perhaps a past acquaintance who owed you a debt. Like Thaddeus T, who ran up a mountain of unpaid massage bills. He also had a hobby of knocking people off for occasional extra cash.
Well, if he did, I wasn't aware of it.
Maybe not. But maybe Mrs. Van Rich was.
Was what?
There's quite a few phone calls on your bill to Arbogash's home, and 2 to a Thaddeus T in Jersey.
Oh, Jeffrey's wrong, Mr. Flannagan. You are not imaginative. Saying that the wife did it is one step away from saying that the butler did it. If I murdered my husband, why would I hire you as an adjunct for the police investigation?
Maybe to throw everybody off the scent.
You have gone too far!
You're right, I have gone far enough. Here's Spuds. Hold on to these. Somebody's going to be wearing these cufflinks to go with the new wardrobe the state will be giving them. Now, I would like everybody in this room to help me solve the crime. There may have been some questions that I haven't asked that you thought should have been asked in order to reveal the killer's identity. Keep in mind that everyone in this room was present when Van Rich was murdered. Are there any questions?
Good.
Where's the maid?
Oh, where's the maid? I'll tell you where she is. She's in the kitchen right now cleaning up the oven. Oh, you have a question? Oh, she's in the kitchen. Getting to that right now. She's in the kitchen cleaning the oven. When I saw her, she was like so dusty that I figured that after she cleaned up that I would get her in here. But I'm going to make sure that she's in here for more interrogation. Yes?
Where were you during the murder?
Yeah, so how are you? Well, if you must know, I was at my office. I was finishing up a little case and making sure that I made sure that Marlowe, Philip Marlowe to be exact, was off my tail about some background I owed him.
It's not a club member.
Yes, that is correct.
Call me.
I couldn't be here because I'm not a member. Unlike you guys, I don't have the money to sustain such a lifestyle.
I'll help you out, man. Excuse, I need more drink. Now.
All right, anything else?
No, great fun.
Okay. Well, since this is a classy joint, I don't want anybody's feelings to get hurt or getting in possible legal entanglement. So I'm going to ask Arbogash here to go around with this punch bowl. Now, anybody who wants to put in their 2 cents as to who they think the killer might be and why, do so by writing it down and putting it in the bowl. This might be a good idea to get a vendetta off your chest, if you know what I mean.
What a joke.
That seems a little ridiculous.
Sorry, but this is a free country. Everybody has a right to say who they think the murderer is, and they should feel not obligated to say it in front of a bunch of people in order to get each other for it. Very well.
Well, I'm not thinking like this.
Ridiculous.
Funny thing about these murder cases, you let people talk for long enough, sooner or later somebody spills the beans.
I have a hole in my jelly bean bag.
You knew, Maisie, that you were keeping a crooked score when you started hooking your game a little to the left of honesty. Van Rich was not only your ticket out of here, but you used him to get your boyfriend Gargantua to propose.
I didn't think it could hurt. I've been trying to get that big love to tee off my green.
But read the game. Don't you know that honesty is the only way to get a guy?
If you believe that, I got a bridge to sell you over the Delaware River.
You could have gotten your sweetie into a mess of trouble that night he left you at the pool. Your boyfriend was steaming out of the cleft of Van Rich's chin. But when he got to the club, he heard Van Rich already going at it with another contender, Rittenhouse. He told me he overheard you two arguing over cheese doodles. Now, what was that headbutting about?
I have a feeling you already know the answer to that, but I'll play along with your little game. We were arguing over the fact that Mr. Van Rich cheated me out of a partnership with the Cheese Doodle Company. I mentioned him about a week earlier that I heard the company needed financial backing. And he said he would look into it for me on the streets. Well, he not only looked into it, he looked at it, and he bought in on my tip.
Why didn't you mention this before?
businessman doesn't get a reputation for being sharp with dull wits. And given his previous avariciousness, it was dumb of me to confide in him.
So what happened after the argument?
I left. Because then I went to the bathroom, not to look at myself, by the way. And then I collected my wife, and then we went home. I didn't want to stay at a banquet honoring the man that I now wanted nothing to do with.
What about your payment of $20K to Gargantua?
Gargantua? Gargantua is a champion bodybuilder, and has won many international awards. And he was going to open a chain of gyms all across the country. So, I was advancing him as a business loan.
Spuds, go around that corner there and get Mrs. Zenovich, the cleaning lady. She's holding the dynamite that'll blow this case wide open. All right, so how's your settlement with Thaddeus T, Arbogash?
What settlement?
Mrs. Van Rich is in some sort of collusion with you.
I don't know, Slats. You've been standing around all night throwing darts. Sooner or later, you gotta get a bullseye. Come on.
Bud, stop messing around the corner. We gotta get Mrs. Zenovich in. Everybody here is curious about her.
Right?
Yeah, that corner, right there. So, why would she help you clear up all the debt with Thaddeus T?
Because she wanted to help.
Why would she want to help you other than to rack up points during a good deed medal?
What is it that you want?
Yes, it's just
What are you doing back there? You don't go back there. I must finish cleaning. Come here now. What are you doing? There's something wrong with him. He's something stupid about the COVID or something.
Mrs. Zenovich.
What? Come here. You come here.
Yeah, Mrs. Zenovich. When you saw a man running through the lobby of the cocktail lounge, yes, was he headed east or west?
East.
East.
Yeah.
Well, if he was headed in that direction, he would have run smack dab into the 20-foot wall that surrounds that section of the building. There's no way out.
That was it was this. It was this.
Yes, of course. Because that leads to the veranda outside of the lounge where Rittenhouse and Van Rich have been arguing. After they were done out there and went back into the lounge, there were country club employees that were cleaning up outside before going to the ballroom. None of them saw any man running past them. And that's because there was no man. While you were in the cocktail lounge with your husband, you slipped slow-acting knockout drops into his drink. You knew it would be about 15 or 20 minutes before they'd begin to take effect and he'd begin to feel drowsy. Then you sneaked into the costume of Katrina Zenovich and into the maid's closet when no one was looking, and then started cleaning up the lounge until Van Rich was alone. By the time the drug reached his brain, he was so strung out that he didn't have the strength to fight you as you held his head in a punch bowl.
What tipped you off?
A couple of things. You mixed your days off. At first you said it was Mondays, and then it was Thursdays.
Oh, drat.
No hard-working cleaning lady worth her weight in soap suds would forget her only day off when she gets to rest her calluses. Second, you, that is Mrs. Zenovich, only started working here around the time that you, Mrs. Van Rich, made all those phone calls to Thaddeus T and Arbogash. You threatened to expose Arbogash and T if he didn't pay Arbogash here. And in exchange, he would let you pretend to be a cleaning lady for the club on the night that your husband was to receive his award. You had to keep playing this act for me and the police because everybody knew that you were the one to find the body first. You became Katrina because you could get close to your husband to do him in. Third, why a Yugoslavian accent? I did a background check about you, and then I found out that you were once an actress who toured on a theatrical troupe to Yugoslavia.
Yeah, such a puppet
final coup d'etat.
Oh.
I saw it glistening underneath the cloth. You'd have to mop quite a few floors to be able to afford this chunk of ice.
Did you always know it was me?
I wasn't sure until you told me which direction the mythical perpetrator was running in.
Very good deductive reasoning, Mr. Flannagan. That's exactly why I hired you.
And you thought the heat would be off of you as a suspect. Why'd you kill him, baby?
He was a rat. He cheated on me. He cheated in business. I did the world a favor by getting rid of the crumb.
Maybe, but you should have waited. Life would have caught up with him sooner or later. Maybe even one of these good folks might have done you the favor. You got the cuffs, Spuds? Put them on.
Oh, just wait a second. I'm not going anywhere like that. This has to come off of me. Hideous. One second, Spudsy Wudsy. Spudsy Wudsy wasn't there. Spudsy Wudsy had no hair. Hey, Spuds, will you keep these diamonds warm for me? What do you say?
Ooh, down boy. I'll take this for evidence. You can go return your seat.
Thank you. Spudsy Wudsy. Oh.
Sorry to have to do this to you, sweet face, but I gotta take you in.
You know, Slats are not bad. The plot's just written that way. Will you wait for me?
Maybe. Only don't expect me to drink a fruit punch toast with you if you get out.
Da-da-da!